Well, welcome to Midweek Mashup. I am here with Pastor Ty Hall. This is the opportunity in the middle of the week for us to kind of connect our in-person staff, the people that you see up on stage on the live stream on Sundays with our church online. So Ty, you're new to Fremont.
Yep.
Right? Just moved out here not too long ago.
Yeah, about 2 months.
Okay. Why don't you tell us kind of where you're from, kind of what led you to ministry here at FCC, and what your favorite blend of coffee is?
I love coffee. But yes, I'm from the western suburbs of Chicago, so I'm originally from Illinois. Lived there my whole life. Went to school at Moody Bible Institute in downtown Chicago, lived there for 4 years as well. But I came to FCC because I actually had a personal connection with Pastor Eric. We had worked before together, and I was actually calling him totally unrelated. I was asking for some advice on a situation that was going on in my life, and he mentioned that there was a position open here and just sent it my way as like a, hey, just take a look at it. And so as I took a look at the position and I got to come out and visit, man, I saw so much life here. I saw people chasing after God in such a very clear and evident way. I love the missional mindset that we're going for as a church here. I love that we're taking some of the stuff that we do inside these four walls and taking them out of those four walls. And so I'm really excited to jump in and be a part of that. As far as favorite blend of coffee goes, I don't know if I necessarily have a favorite blend. I am a light roast guy over a dark roast. Okay. I'll have dark roast when I'm having espresso or something, but light roast is normally like my morning coffee.
Okay, yeah, I hear that light roast is it keeps in more of the flavor. Is that correct?
It's a little bit more flavorful. It really depends on which way you brew it at that point. I'm like a middle coffee novice. I'm not like hugely skilled of like I have a French press. The grind of your coffee got to be a little bit chunkier. Okay. And that way it doesn't float through the French press.
Oh, that's good. Good tip. Good tip. Well, I'm so glad that you're joining us for Church Online today. I just had a couple of questions for you. You gave an excellent message on Sunday.
Oh, thank you.
About one of the Psalms. What Psalm did you preach on? And kind of what was the takeaway? Like, if there was one central focus of the message, what would that be?
Yeah, so we talked about Psalm 46. We talked about the actual meaning of being still. What does it actually mean? Is it just sort of like sitting and taking a breather and maybe prayerfully meditating? And while those things are good and helpful, the Psalm 46 is actually asking us when it says be still to kind of let God do his thing, to not try to muscle our way through life or muscle our way through the trials that we face, but to recognize that God is all powerful and loves us and is fighting for us. He's our refuge and strength. And so allowing him to be that is actually what it means to be still.
Wow, yeah, that's great. I see that all the time on Etsy. You mentioned that in your message, and instantly I was like, yes, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. But I see that all the time on just like inspirational things. Be still, and I'm always wondering, like, is there more context to that passage? Or is that kind of just the central focus of the entire psalm? Is just no, God wants us to be still.
Well, and the whole psalm it's written in this sort of setting of conflict, right? The first part of the psalm, the earth falls apart. The psalmist depicts this really poetic depiction of the apocalypse, and we will not fear in the middle of that. And then he brings up the enemies of the Lord as they band together against him. It's everyone against him, and God is still victorious. And because of who he is, because of his all-powerful nature, we are allowed to be still and watch him be God.
Wow, no, that's super important, because I mean, now whenever I look at one of those Etsy signs, I'm gonna think, wow, this passage is talking about like the apocalypse and armies and this huge conflict, and it kind of makes me think like, oh, you know what? Maybe my problem wasn't so bad. Maybe maybe it's a little easier for me to be still.
Yeah, the earth is still under me. I can still stand on things.
Was there anything that you kind of discussed in your message that you wish that you had more time to flesh out a little more, or anything that you wish you could have added, but just for the sake of time, cut it down?
Yeah, I think as I was kind of wrapping up my message, I mentioned it on Sunday, but there's this sense as we think about, well, what are the battles that we're facing? We're not literally seeing the mountains fall into the heart of the sea, but we do have trials that face us every day, right? There are things in our life that as we go through our week, pop up, and they can cause this sense of busyness to get through it, or urgency or anxiety. But in the midst of that, God is asking us to be still and to let him be God. And at the end of my message, I mentioned we could probably go around the room and come up with these scenarios for a really long time, and that can be really anxiety inducing in and of itself to kind of see the list kind of stack up. But I love that the psalm starts and ends really simply. The psalm starts with, our God is our refuge and strength and ever-present help in trouble. There's not like an ever-present help in trouble if these set of conditions apply. It's ever-present. It's always there in any trouble. And so even as people are processing and thinking through, well, what are the battles I'm facing? You can know that in the midst of all of those, not just some of them, all of them, God is present and he is your refuge. He is your strength. And then the end of the song, the Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. This historical context of the lineage of Israel, right? We get to see that God is still Israel's refuge. He was Israel's refuge, and now he is continuing to be the church's refuge. He's always been there. And so that's even more so to remind ourselves of that today, in the midst of today, 2022 and beyond. He is still our refuge and strength.
Yeah, that's good. It's kind of like a psalm sandwich. It's like God is with us. God is with us.
A psalmwich, if you will.
A psalmwich. That's good. What kind of encouragement would you give to someone who's reading this particular psalm or the psalms in general, who is wondering, okay, how can I kind of practically apply this to my life?
Yeah. One thing that I love reading the Psalms, and I love reading bits and pieces of Scripture. If you're reading the Psalms for the first time and you're figuring out, well, how do I read this? There's a lot of stuff in here that makes sense. That's okay, because it was written for a specific context. There's a lot of poetry. There's a lot of artistic language in there that in our current modern context doesn't make sense. So as you're reading the Psalms in general, like, give yourself a break in like being able to say, I have no idea what this means. But in this psalm specifically, as you're looking through, how do I apply this to my life in general? I think there's a self-awareness that I would encourage people to kind of dig into. What parts of my day, what parts of my week am I trying to grab the reins, trying to grab the wheel and steer in my own direction, when in reality, I just need to let God take control. I need to trust that whatever he's got planned for me is better than whatever I could even plan for myself. And pay attention to those moments when you can feel the muscles in your neck start to tense up, and you get home after a long day of work or school and you can like feel your body just kind of relax. Like, ask yourself, well, why am I feeling that way? What part of my life, what part of my day am I trying to wrestle control from God? And instead I really just need to let him do his thing.
Yeah. Wow. No, that's so good. I feel like just reiterating that self-awareness of like, I don't understand this. I don't know everything. And I feel like that's such a great posture to take in life sometimes, to just admit that we don't know everything, because we want to know everything, and we want to have it figured out.
It's so much easier when you admit you don't know everything. It makes it easier.
Right. And it's not our job to know everything.
Exactly.
Like I have no idea what's happening all the way around the globe right now on the other side of the planet, right? And I could work myself into a ball of stress about international conflicts that may or may not arise, but really it's my job to focus on ministry here at FCC.
You can take it even a step further and saying, yeah, we don't know everything, we don't have everything in control, but you know what we do have? We have a relationship with the one who does know everything. We have a relationship with the one who does have everything in control, and we know his character. We know who he is. We can see time and time again God's care for his people despite their lack of concern for him. We can see his care for people in the midst of really terrible circumstances and situations. And then we can even see his care as he brings people out of those terrible situations, and we see the characters of the Bible look back and see, oh, God, I see what you were doing there now. I see what you were teaching me. I see what you were teaching us as a community together. But being able to say, yeah, I don't have it all together. I don't know it all, but I know the one who does. That's even a further comfort to me myself as I'm in the midst. Like, I think there are some times in our life, and there are some areas where there are those stressors where we feel like we need to have control of these things. We need to grab onto those. And I think there's a point where it's okay to say, you know what? You don't need to worry about that at all.
Yeah.
If the world news or doom scrolling, as Pastor Eric will call it, if that's what causes you to think I'm not in control, I need to have control, maybe it's time to put the phone down for a season. Maybe it's time to stop going to those news sources that you go to every day and trust that God's got it. So I think when you say you've taken a Sabbath or you've taken a vacation, I'd say, like, let's say in the middle of like your busy season of work, you can still be still in that busy season. You can still be putting your best efforts before God in your work, in your school, in your class. Like, I think of a student, if you're in the middle of finals, that is the perfect time to be still.
Oh, yeah.
And say, yes, you do study. Yes, you do go to all of the extra things you can. Yes, you get help from your professor or your teacher or whoever it is, right? You go to tutoring.
Right.
But in the midst of all of those things, you say, God, I know you're in control.
Yeah.
God, I know that in the midst of all this busyness, in the midst of this season of my life, I know you're still in control. And because of that, I'm allowing my soul to be still. I'm allowing myself to be still and say that you are in control, even though there are things that I am continually doing and putting my best efforts forward as a representation of who you are. God asks us to do all things in glory of Him, to glorify Him, right? That includes your math test.
Yeah.
That includes that report that you need to put in for your boss for work. Like, those are all things that require effort and intentional time and energy toward. But in the midst of all that, you can still be still and say, yeah, God, you've got it.
Yeah.
You've got this.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I mean, the Bible talks a lot about taking periods of rest, but kind of what you're talking about and what this passage is saying is, okay, well, let's take a little piece of that, right, and let's keep that in our souls, right, so that even though we're not able to have rest around us when life is kind of like a whirlwind and it's kind of crazy, like we as people are still able to be still and be able to find rest in knowing that even though life seems crazy, God is in control. Yeah, wow, that's so good. Man, I feel so inspired just being able to sit down and talk with you about that. And this is going to be exciting to kind of be able to sit down with the speaker of the message on Sundays and kind of just recap and have more of a conversational approach to things. So I really appreciate you joining us for Church Online and being able to just impart a little more insight and wisdom into the message that you gave on Sunday. Yeah. If you're looking to see the whole message on Psalm 46, and what Pastor Ty is titling Be Still, and learning more about that, you can click the banner that will show up somewhere. I'm not quite sure where it is yet. I think it's in one of the corners, but we'll find out. But if you want to hear more from Pastor Ty, you can go ahead and check that out. And we're just so happy that you joined us for Church Online.